My background is a level 2 CrossFit trainer. I've been doing that since then. Pretty much 13 is when I got my level 1, and then I progressively moved up. I got a CrossFit endurance background, CrossFit mobility, did that for a while, and tactical athlete training and programming for military, police, and firefighters. And then also my precision nutrition, which is what I'm going to introduce to you guys. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I'm kind of going to incorporate some of the precision nutrition stuff as well as the CrossFit methodology and how we have nutrition as our foundation. So we'll go over some of that stuff. But just by kind of show of hands of people in here, are any of you guys practice any nutritional like diets currently right now, or any like macronutrient tracking or anything like that? Intermittent fasting. How long have you been doing that for?
Like a month.
A month. Have you had a lot of success with it?
Not really.
No?
Because of my choices.
Okay. And so, yes, I'm going to be going over a lot of the nutrition, but I'm also going to be going over lifestyle skills that helps with our nutrition as a whole. So I'll be going over that. And if you guys have questions too, feel free to ask as we're going through this. I'd like to answer all the questions I possibly could. If you have questions after the hierarchy of the CrossFit, basically the methodology of some of this stuff. But I want to go over the foundation, so here our nutrition. And then within the precision nutrition, there's 3 different levels. So there's a level 1, 2, and 3. Just like in CrossFit, you know, there's different modifications, so we all have different tracks. You know, we're currently doing comp train, but you know, there's RX scaled, different levels and so forth. So we'll be going over some of that. And within these levels, we'll be talking about portions and meals, different ways of going about it within these 1, 2, and 3 levels, as far as like where everyone should be fitting in based off of experience. So. And then body types, how all of us are different. Nutrition is pretty, it's individualized. It's not necessarily one size fits all for everybody. One thing that could work for one person may not work for the next. And then post-workouts, we'll go over some of that stuff. And then some of the supplements that we can utilize for our training and through everyday life. So CrossFit, you know, our foundation, again, I keep hitting on this, is our nutrition, right? Anything that we do in the gym, we work really hard to work on our metabolic conditioning with all the metcons and WODs that we continuously do throughout our training. Within some of that metabolic stuff, we work on our gymnastics, our weightlifting, and then if we're doing anything outside, we may be working on sports. We may be working on sport-specific stuff, whether it's marathons or, you know, events, OCR type stuff, obstacle course racing. But really, if we really want to succeed at any of these levels here, we got to start here, right here at our foundations. So, you know, this portion right here, this is what CrossFit has actually put into their training, their level 1 training. And when they talk about this hierarchy, is the foundation, the nutrition can amplify or determine your training effort and performance. So effective nutrition for an average CrossFit athlete is a balance between 40 carbohydrates, if we're doing it in percentages, 40 carbohydrates, 30 fat, and 30 for protein. So if you guys have ever looked at some of the CrossFit stuff, and they really aim towards like the zone diet and stuff when they're doing their nutrition stuff, this kind of works with some of the foundation with precision nutrition, and I'll go over that in more detail. We'll talk about the different levels, the macro portions, calorie restriction, performance, and what this also helps out with is preventing disease, having our bodies, you know, for the longevity. We're trying to really just make it as long as we can. And then body composition for what we'll be going over too. No? I think some of the things that people, you know, want to get out of this nutrition in general is they want performance. They want to be able to feel good, look good. Everybody wants to look good naked, right? That's like probably one of the better things. Going to the beach and, you know, having confidence in your body and what you're doing, I think is good. It helps you mentally throughout your day and your lifestyle, but also in the gym too. You got a lot more confidence, you move a little bit better. All right, so what I'll do is I'll start going into the level 1 side of things. So in level 1, these are some of the lifestyles that I want to go over. So kind of in level 1, people are just learning the foundations of everything, trying to live their lifestyle a little bit better, starting to learn different skills, and being very consistent with their dieting. Right now, they're just kind of breaking into it, so there's very little to moderate knowledge of what nutrition truly is. Some of you may have different levels. Some of you in here probably have done different types of diets, whether it's paleo, keto, or just just calorie counting and so forth. Some of the skill, as far as skills go, it could be, knowing what to go and buy in the grocery store, whether it's, looking at labels and stuff like that, and really paying attention to the carbohydrates, fat, and so forth. For some of people at this level, they may or may not have that experience. And then consistency. So our consistency with our nutrition, it may be, I go all week really eating really well, and then on the weekend or Friday night, I kind of just go downhill in my tank, and over the weekend I'm just down here. Then I go back into the next week, and here I am eating, great again. So consistency ebbs and flows. So we want to try and balance that consistency somewhere, between an 80-20, but just trying to understand that nutrition, try not to maintain perfection. It's really just about consistency and giving that good effort. If you have a bad meal or you eat something, off track, just go back to your next meal and try and get back on pace. Don't try and be perfect, because everything gets stressful that way, and then that can shoot everything outside. So we want to make sure that you guys are practicing repeatable skills and just showing that sustainability for your daily lives, and then practicing those behaviors. So really paying attention to some of the food choices you're having. These are some of the limiting factors in your level 1. So I'll write some of this stuff down real quick here. So limiting factors in level 1. If you guys can't read my handwriting, just let me know. I'll try and write a little bit better. So your food choices. So with some of your food choices, you want to try and steer towards foods that aren't as processed, trying to go for meals where they come from the main source itself. So that I'm talking about, like when you buy your produce, you're buying your produce in nothing that's like highly packaged. I'm not saying you have to buy organic or anything like that, but you're choosing good produce. You can buy stuff in like bags. A lot of times when they bag this stuff, it's at the highest point of fruit or vegetables are at the ripeness. So they freeze it and they capture it and they get it and it's frozen then. So you can still use frozen vegetables, canned vegetables. The only thing with canned vegetables is you got to be careful because of the sodium. So really going to just go to the store and buy produce from the produce aisle. Same thing with, anything that's in a package. A lot of times all that stuff's really highly processed. So we want to stay away from a lot of those processed foods. Knowing within your food choices too, like if people are coffee drinkers, some of the things you may want to do is, instead of going to getting some highly sugared like creamer, you may want to kind of slowly wean yourself down to maybe it's heavy whipping cream to just milk to maybe just black eventually, trying to limit that sugar too. Some of the eating behaviors. So some eating behaviors could include whether or not, you're sitting at your table, but your table's right in front of your TV. And now you're watching TV, you're not really paying attention to what you're eating, and by the time you're done with your food, you finished it in 5 minutes. So just paying attention to how you're eating can actually help you lose weight and go towards your nutrition. So a lot of times people will say that you eat your food, sometimes take a bite and just set your fork down. That'll help you slow down your food eating and actually your body will start to recognize when it's starting to feel full. Sometimes we scarf down a bunch of food and then all of a sudden we're like, oh man, I ate way too much. Happens a lot on Thanksgiving. But that's just because your body hasn't caught up quick enough to say, hey, I'm completely full right now. I don't need any more food. So if you slow down, that gives your body that time to recognize, hey, I'm full. Let's stop eating. And so a lot of times if you catch yourself eating a lot really quickly, you may want to dial it down to maybe feeling about 80% full. You're not completely full, but you're satisfied with what you're eating. So think about the eating behaviors and just paying attention to what you're doing. Not having your phone in front of you, not having any sort of distractions, just really enjoying your food and what you're having in front of you. Maybe even having a conversation with people. Not a lot of people enjoy seeing other people eat and talk with their mouthfuls, so just be mindful of that. So just chew your food, then talk. But yeah, practicing some of these skills. And then your exercise. And activities. So how much exercise do you guys do daily? How much exercise do you guys do a week and then monthly? A good starting point is maybe 3 times a week, 30 minutes. Just if you're just kind of starting out, 30 minutes a day. Here we spend about an hour here at the gym. If you come in at least 3 days a week, that's starting to show some consistency. But you can work out between those 3 to 6 days a week, depending on how you feel and how your body recovers. Your body's going to recover way better if you have much better nutrition. The activities is what your lifestyle is outside of the gym. So are you sitting around in your current job? Do you sit at a desk most of the time during the day? And then also, or are you a teacher who spends a lot of their time standing up? Or are you a nurse, spends a lot of time standing up? You could be a delivery person, looking at those type of activities throughout your day. Are you a firefighter, a policeman, military, something like that? This will affect a lot of where we're at with some of our activities. And so that changes how much food and intake we need to have during our day. So exercise and activity will change how much portions we're going to be having for the day. And then recovery. Some limiting factors on recovery. This is huge. You want to see a lot of gains and progress in what you do here in the gym has a lot to do with recovery, but it also has a lot to do with your food, your health and nutrition lifestyle. Am I getting adequate sleep? Am I getting adequate rest when I'm not working out? What am I doing when I'm not working out? Am I getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep? Hopefully so. Sometimes if your body's highly stressed out, your body's not going to recover and you're going to start building basically some hormonal responses to where your body's going to feel like it's always stressed out, to where it's always going to hold that weight. It feels like it's trying to survive. I won't get into the nitty gritty and the details and of naming all this stuff, but I'm just kind of trying to give you like a general foundation of what that is. Sometimes if you're not getting enough just relaxing time, it goes for the same thing. Same response as if you're not sleeping well enough. Your body will remain in that fight or flight mode all the time, and sometimes you could feel tired all the time, and you're not progressing in the gym, and you're not losing weight if that's what your goal is, or you're not gaining weight if that's what your goal is. So really paying attention to your recovery. Your mindset is another thing. So, you have to, when you're here building this nutrition in level 1, level 2, or level 3, you need to be able to wrap your mind around what you're doing. When you're setting yourself up to eat a certain way you can't always beat yourself up. You can't be like, okay, oh, I completely ate this bag of chips and now I'm done with my diet. I'm not going to do it anymore. So now I'm just completely going to start all over. I'll do it on Monday. Like I said, we're not trying to go for perfection in any sort of way. We're trying to just build our lifestyle and our skills as we continue to go. So set yourself up, that failure, it's not really failure. It's a setback for a minute, and then you're going to get back on track again. So set yourself up for success with that mind frame. And then some of it is your environment. So what's your environment like where you're at in the gym, where you're at work, and where you're at home? So you may or may not have support from your significant others, partners, friends, roommates. You really want to be around people that are setting you up and giving you support for your work, for your nutrition and your diet and whatever you're choosing to have for your nutrition. It's really challenging, of course, when you have a spouse or a significant other who is not on the same boat as you, and they're not willing to support you throughout that journey of what you're doing, that change in your lifestyle or that goal you want to do in your lifestyle. So really having that conversation with them and saying, hey, this is what I want to do. This is one of my goals. I want to set myself up in a good environment. That way I can reach my goal of having good nutrition. And sometimes just getting yourself pulled in that direction, they see the success and whatever thing's going on in your life. And sometimes eventually, hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll come in and they'll join up with you, and you can all go on the same path together. So setting yourself up. So just kind of looking at some of these things here that I have. How many of these things, food choices, by show of hands, food choices is a challenge, is a limiting factor for you guys? Okay. What about eating behaviors? I'm really bad at this. I can eat food in like seconds. I think it's because of my job too. What about exercise and activity? Yeah? Okay. I think for the most part, exercise and activity can ebb and flow too, especially seasonality. Like right now we're during a holiday season. Sometimes in the winter it's cold. We're getting limited out on outdoor activities. So figure out ways we can get past that. Be more consistent here. It's a good place to be. What about recovery? Sleep. Sleep? How many of you get at least 7 hours of sleep? Oh, you guys are lucky. You're lucky. What about 8 hours? 8 hours of sleep? Oh, I'm so lucky. 10 hours? Dang, 10 hours. What about 5? 5 hours? 4 hours? 6 hours? Okay, 6 hours. I think you can push that envelope a little bit further to 7 for sure. So 7 could definitely be it. What about mindset? Do you guys ever have setbacks in your mindset and the way you're thinking? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, well, we can work through that. What about environment? Environment, yeah? Yeah, environment, people? I've had that before too. It's challenging. Environment can also be work. You could be in a job where it's super busy and you don't have the time to sit down and actually have a meal, so you got to grab something quickly. That's something that can change as well. So again, I have some notes in here, just adding good stuff. For food choices, maybe we're not making, when you first get into a diet, people are always like, oh, I'm going to do great. I'm going to kick ass at this. And I'm just going to go to the grocery store. I'm going to buy all the healthy stuff right now. I'm going to set myself up for success. And then all of a sudden you guys you're doing so good and then all of a sudden you just hit this point where you ate something really bad because you're so strict. You're so trying to go that direction right away. So what I'm trying to tell you is with some of your food choices, some of these things may just need to come into play slowly. You don't need to make that change right away. That's what I was saying with the milk going into that black. So I was saying here, having regular coffee from flavored coffee. Instead of going to Starbucks and buying that latte, maybe it's just going to Starbucks and buying, just a black coffee if you can handle it. Eventually you'll love it. So I talked about food choices. Let me make sure I'm good with a lot of this stuff. So another thing on food choices, hydration. So how many people are drinking water throughout the day? Good, that's awesome. About half this group. So I'm challenged with that. Typically they say, drinking half your body weight in ounces. So, that's probably a good starting point. Depending on your activity level, you may need to drink way more than that. It could be a gallon a day, depending on how active you are. One of the things you can do for your hydration is just carrying a bottle around like that, and just trying to maintain that. And like your goal could be to drink 2 of those a day. That's probably, I don't know how big that one is, 48 ounces. So that would probably be 2 of those a day for you. Might be much, but I don't know. You might be able to maintain it. Or you're just going to be using the restroom a lot. So when you first do it, of course, your body is flushing a lot of that stuff out. So you're probably going to be using the restroom quite a bit.
I tell my fiance we need to buy adult diapers.
Adult diapers.
I would be in the bathroom all day.
I know, because it's like I sat down, I'm doing some work, and then all of a sudden I got to go to the restroom again. It's like, am I ever going to get any work done too? I don't know. Some of that was the food choices. Let me make sure I get everything here. Processed stuff. Oh, and just not meeting your macro and micro nutrients. So, macros, meaning, your protein, carbs, and fat, you're not getting enough nutrients throughout your day. So you're choosing to eat, Twinkies instead of a handful or a fistful of veggies or something like that on your side as a snack. Trying to maintain those whole unprocessed foods, or even your micronutrients, you may not be getting enough vitamins too, and the nutrients within that, with the food choices you make. We talked about eating too fast, irregular eating habits, missing meals, yo-yo type of meals. We talked about that. That's real big in, service type of work, hospitals and stuff like that, trying to keep up and catch up with all that stuff. Another thing could be eating behaviors is eating disorders. Hopefully, depending on where you're at, you guys don't have any eating disorders in any way, but if you do, there's ways to work around that stuff. And if you need help with that privately, you need to speak to me or anything like that, you can always get my email address from anybody here at the gym, and I can help you work through that. Overeating or undereating. A lot of times, especially in the holidays, we're going to be overeating, but we're enjoying everything, right? Or you're undereating. Sometimes with those yo-yo diets, you're not getting enough nutrients, so you're undereating for your daily expenditure. And then using food. A lot of people can be using food to manage their feelings and how they feel. It's kind of like, you're feeling a little depressed, so I'm going to go grab that pint of ice cream and I'm going to go eat that whole thing. So that's part of your eating behaviors. You don't want to do that. We talked about sleep, not getting enough recovery. And then, so I'll talk a little bit about, in the recovery side of things, the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight. If you're not getting enough recovery, like I said before, your body is always in that fight or flight mode. You're always amped up. It's hard for you to get to sleep sometimes. And you may just be always in that mode here, so you're never getting that enough recovery to where your body kind of just gets into that relaxation mode. One of the things you can do is, besides just eating well, would be soft tissue work, mobility, and stuff like that. That can actually kind of pull you down into that rest and relaxation phase, which is the parasympathetic mode there. So you'll kind of be in that relaxation. It'll give you a little bit of recovery. One of the things that I try and do is about 10 to 15 minutes a day, just doing some mobility work. If I get the time, I can sit in front of the TV and just do that and spend 15 minutes doing it. And it could just be stretching. You may not even be doing any foam rolling or anything like that. It could just be sitting in front of the TV doing that. It's also cool if you have kids and they start getting into it, especially little ones. They'll be like, what are you doing? And you give them a foam roller and they'll be rolling on it and playing on the ground and stuff. So it's pretty cool. Let's see. Talked about that. So the recovery, making sure I don't miss anything for any of you. So let's see, mindset, some skills. Learning how to do basic food prep is one of the things too. Limiting factors, I guess I didn't put it on here, but just skills in general. So How many of you use recipes to cook? How many of you just use stuff, you just grab things and are able to just build a cool meal? Good? Nice. I mean, those are skills. Like, I mean, even learning to do, grabbing the recipe book and like looking at it, that's building more and more skills. It's just like going to school. You're learning how to utilize all these different things and build different recipes. And over time, you can throw that recipe book off to the side and then you can come up with your own meals on your own. So that's part of it too, but also setting yourself up to understand, like, as you're building this recipe, you're understanding your protein, your carbs, and your fat, and how much you need for each thing. So just kind of getting into that. And then your shopping awareness, I talked about that, looking at the labels, understanding, you know, what your nutrition needs are based off of your macronutrients, and looking at labels and understanding what's high in sodium, what's low in sodium, what's going to benefit you for your goals that you're currently doing. Anybody have any questions so far? I know I'm doing a lot of talking, so stop me if you need to. You could start feeling lethargic. Your performance could start going down in your activities, whether it's in here in the gym. It could be, you know, everyday lifestyle stuff where you're at work and you're feeling really tired. You may feel tired in the afternoon. You may feel tired just getting up in the morning. And you may not just be getting enough nutrients in your diet. It could be, you know, you're not sleeping very well, you know, different things like that. So it's really also taking a look at, you know, having a food journal is, even if you're not doing any sort of like special like diet or anything like that, having a food journal is really good, because you can always refer back to it and take a look at it and say, okay, well, this week, you know, I ate this, and this, and I started feeling this way. And so you can refer back to it and be like, okay, well, maybe that didn't work well for me. Maybe I need to add something here or take away something here. Or maybe there was something in that food you ate that totally messed you up feeling-wise. You could feel, you know, could upset your stomach. You could feel tired. And these are some of these things are food sensitivities that you could possibly be having, and you don't even know it. So having a food journal can help track that and figure out those things. Does that answer your question? Okay. Making impulse choices. We talked about the pint of ice cream, or just going to the store and just buying everything on the shelf. Kind of, don't go to the store hungry. Don't ever do that. Feeling too rushed or too busy. Those are some of the things that you got to be careful of too. You know, not getting enough food, so you're just going to scarf it all the way, or not getting enough time, so you scarf down all your food, and you're never going to have enough time to like sit down and kind of have that environment and mindset set up for you, and then it messes with the eating behaviors as well. Not having good options. So I'm guilty of this for sure. Like, when you go to the store and you may or may not have a plan, you may just grab stuff off the shelf or whatever, but whatever you do is it's easier for you to eat right is if you have more options inside your house, whether that's in your pantry, your fridge, or pre-made options. So think about that and how you might be able to set that up if you're doing meal planning, or if you're just going to the store and buying things. Think about that. I would say, you know, having options such as, you know, fruits, quick fruits and vegetables. Either fruits are easy to grab because you can eat them pretty much raw, but vegetables too, you can eat those raw, or you have, you know, pre-made meals, and they don't have to be big meals. They could be something small, but as, you know, within those meals, you may incorporate those protein, carbs, and fat. And I'll get into the sizing and the portions of all that stuff for you as well, so you have better choices. Back to the psychology, the mindset, and the environment. So we talked about 80-20. So a lot of times too, people will refer to the 80-20 in the gym. You know, putting in a lot of that hard effort, and then you know, dialing it down 20%. You know, making sure you get that adequate recovery with your performance or your workouts here. But I'm going to use it here in nutrition. So, you know, depending on how many meals you have planned out for your week, think about that 80% of those meals, you're going to be eating spot on for the portions and spot on for the macronutrient needs that you have. And then the 20% is hey, I'm going to probably go into, I may have that little snack, and I'm not going to feel guilty about it, whether it's like, it could be some cookies or something like that. It could be a candy bar or something. Don't beat yourself up. Give yourself that 20% to have that and still continue to do that. Because what that's going to do is it's going to make you stay on track for that other 80%. So we're not trying to go for perfection in any sort of way. Once you get down to that 80% and that 20, over time, you can change that depending on what your goals are. If that's a good lifestyle for you, consistency is the key. We want to make sure you do that. But you may be like, okay, well, maybe I want to up it a little bit, so now I'm going to go to 90-10 and change that there. Or maybe I got a big old competition coming up, and I need to change my nutrition, and I'm going to go to 100%. That's probably going to get you into here, level 2 and level 3, which I'll go into that too. But, all we're striving for right now is consistency and about an 80-20 if you're looking at it, if you guys are numbers people. Taking little steps, like I said, coffee and stuff like that, taking little steps, getting rid of things that are in your pantry that could possibly be, bad, from the cookies, the chips, to, anything that's really high sugar, whether it's the creamers and stuff like that. Phasing yourself out of that stuff, taking little steps, not taking the whole, I'm going to set the garbage can right here, I'm going to go into the fridge and I'm going to get rid of everything right now and throw it in there, and then now I'm completely screwed. And so the next time I go out and I'm driving by Starbucks, I'm going to get the biggest latte possible to quench my thirst. So progress, not perfection. Let's see. Environment, talked about that. Talked about social networks, our significant others supporting us. And then also, let's see. So, any questions so far about this? This is your level 1 limiting factors and how we can look at those limiting factors and make changes in those limiting factors. All right, so I'm going to talk about portions now, which is probably what everybody wants to hear about. Like, how can I make this change? How can I see the dial change for me? So, a lot of times I will use, everybody gets into dieting and stuff like that. And if you're into, we've had food challenges and stuff where we're all using like macro tracking, or you're going to do paleo stuff, and they all got their own ways of like figuring out your portions and how you should go about, your whatever diet you're choosing. What I'm going to tell you about is basically you want to be able to understand that diet's really individualized. So if you look at your hand, if you take your hand like this and you look at just right there, so this portion right here on your hand, I would consider as a protein, one portion of protein, and it's different for each person. And I'm thinking, okay, so it's about this much, this thickness to this size. So most females, just for a healthy foundation, is going to have one portion of protein this size. So that I kind of look at it, I'm like, oh, that's about the size of a 4-ounce pork chop, something around that, or like a steak, or piece of chicken. So that's your protein. So that's about 20 to 30 grams of protein right there. For males, it's going to be 2 of those portion-wise. And so that's going to be pretty much right there. So let me write this down, that way you guys all have it. And
per meal or per day?
Meal. Okay. So per meal. So per meal, you'll basically be at, let's go right here. So, and this is a 40, 30, 30 concept. So same thing with kind of like the zone side of things, CrossFit and so forth. This is just to maintain like health and across the board. So 2 palms for 1. So that's your protein. So that's 2 for males, 1 for females, okay? Pretty simple, right? So that's your protein. That's our macronutrient right there. And then the next thing is, I guess I could go into fat. So you take your thumb from your knuckle to the tip of your finger, that's 1 portion of fat right there. So if you look at that, that's basically could be a tab of butter. It could be 1 tablespoon of peanut butter. Not a heaping tablespoon. I was going to bring a tablespoon of peanut butter and show you what it actually looks like. Because you know when you dip that thing in there and you're like, that's 2 tablespoons. So really, if you look at that, that's 1 serving of fat right there, right? So for the fat portion, for fat, it's 1 for males. Here, actually, let me do this. That's a palm, so males, thumb. And then 0.5 for females. Okay, so that's that. So you guys kind of know, just to start, this is a starting point right now. Okay, and the next thing is for the carbohydrates. And this is dense carbs. So 1 cupped, is it 2 peas? Cupped hand. And 5. Okay, a cupped hand. So if I was to take some oatmeal or rice or something like that, because they're not too highly processed, I'm going to pour that cooked cup of rice in my hand, and as long as it's not too hot, and just hold it right there and just skim that straight across. That's my cupped hand of carbohydrates. This is dense carbs. This isn't, I'm not talking about like anything outside of that. This is like rice, oatmeal, tubers, stuff like that. So if everybody cups their hand, you can kind of see that portion size. So that's 1 cupped hand for males, half a cup or half cupped hand for females, right? So this is our foundation. This again is our 40, 30, 30, if you're looking at percentage-wise, okay? And then for additionally to this, you're going to add veggies, 2 fist-size portions for males and 1 for female. Uh-oh, someone's crying. So 2 fist-sized portions. That's pretty good size, right? Unless you're making spinach and it just shrinks down to like this size. But it's actually two fist sizes. So, you know, here you are. I'm going to make some eggs in the morning. So I'm going to use probably the protein. The fat's already in there, the yolk. So that's basically 2 portions of this. You may take out one of the yolks just to balance it all out. And then a cupped hand of maybe some oatmeal on the side. And then what I do is I'll throw in some spinach with my eggs, make kind of an omelet type thing. So that's kind of a setup right there. Pretty simple, right? So that's your foundation stuff right here. This also works. I'll get into the body types here in a minute. But that's what we're looking for just to start off with. So you'd be looking at probably from where your knuckle, the bending portion of your knuckle is, right there. And that's pretty close to about to a tab of butter, depending on how thick it is. So, and again, so with that stuff right there, that's kind of our beginning right there. But what I want you guys to think about too, and I'll go over into the, I'll get into the other body type stuff here in a minute, but I want to talk about the meals and some of the things that we can set up here. So, 5 simple habits. Starting off with number 1, 4 plus 1. So 4 plus 1 is, I'm going to have 4 meals. This is just the beginning. So 4 meals, and this is if you're maintaining your activity. 4 meals a day, and then 1 post-workout meal. And I'll go into what that is, what that looks like. So your first habit is making sure you're eating these meals, just starting here, 4 times a day, somewhere in there. And then 1 post-workout. So that'll be your first habit to try and maintain consistency with, besides setting yourself up over here, trying to limit these factors that are limiting you. The next thing is setting yourself up with a schedule. So when and how am I going to eat these 4 meals? So for me, it depends on how big my meal is. I can make something like this in a shake about an hour before my workout and be fine to work out and not get sick from it. It may be different for each person. Some people may choose to be fasted during their workouts, and it also depends when their workout is. So setting yourself up, your breakfast, maybe lunch, snack in between dinner, or breakfast, snack, lunch, dinner, something around that time. And this also could come into play too, your workout there. So setting yourself up with a schedule, maybe writing that down either on a piece of paper or some sort of digital platform you want to use, you could do that as well. And then taking the time again to slow down. So 15 to 20 minutes to eat your meal, to eat this meal right here. 30 minutes, we got, depending on where you work, you may have a 30-minute break to set yourself up. So slow down, eat that meal, talk with your friends, not a mouthful, and then enjoy your food for once. You can actually taste it instead of woofing it down. I'm guilty of that too. I'm really bad about it. And then the last, or over here, number 4. Stop at 80% full. So if you're here at Thanksgiving, try it. Use that willpower, Christmas dinner, 80%. Eat to that point right there. Stop, and then you're full. Watch, your body will catch up, and within a couple hours, you're going to feel full and enjoy it, and not be wanting to sit down and, take a nap. So you may even want to just go take a walk. Sometimes that helps out to set yourself up. And then so if I'm making this, I may make a little bit extra if I'm making a meal. Sometimes, especially if you're a single individual and you're not making meals for everybody in your family, you're going to probably make more than enough for yourself easily. But if you have a whole family or whatever, make some stuff on the side too. Make sure you got a little bit extra food. That way, when it comes to setting yourself up for a good environment, food choices, eating behaviors, you've already got a little bit of extra food right here. That way you can just go straight to it instead of grabbing that easy to grab snack bag or whatever. So setting yourself up. So practicing these 5 simple habits will help you out.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I come to the 4:45 workout, right?
Okay.
I worked all day. By 6 o'clock, I'm starving.
Mm-hmm.
So I always have a meal ready, but I eat a lot.
Okay.
When I go home, right? I'm hungry.
But what's your eating habits before you do your workout?
Okay, so I always eat breakfast, I eat lunch, and then sometimes I don't want to have a snack because I think it's extra calories because I know I'm going to eat, it's hard.
It is hard. So
I could have a snack, I know that.
yeah, so start looking at these 2 things right here, practicing those 2 and setting yourself up, and play around with it too, your schedule, and see, because you may have something before your workout that could make you sick, or you may have something, you may not have enough time between after your workout, you're going straight home and making dinner, right? Is that what I'm understanding? So yeah, if you're hungry that's good. Just make yourself those food choices. But here, as I talk about post-workout, this post-workout portion may help you feel less hungry when you go home to make your food, if that makes sense. And I'll get into that too. So I'm going to answer that question a little bit better for you when we get over there. So it may be this is your answer, the one. All right. Well, any other questions about that stuff? No? Okay. So just making sure that these are what we want to limit. This is how we do set up our meals. This is where we're going for with our simple habits. So starting right there. So I will get back into the portion meals, but now I'm going to get into body types. So this is kind of just starting out right here with our foundation. So body types, there's 3 different body types. So this would fall under the mesomorph. You're like, what the hell is that? You can actually take a test. There's different tests you can take online that'll tell you your body type. But a mesomorph, if you look at their body structure, is kind of shaped in a triangle. So you got the really broad shoulders, kind of slender here at the waist. Maybe they're not so broad, but they're just, they look a little more athletic in their build. So that's kind of where they would be. This is where their portions, if you're looking at percentages, is going to make their best benefit. And this is what they would use if they're using portion control with their hands. This goes into tracking macros, or if you like the numbers, it's easier for you to do it that way. The next individual is going to be the ectomorph. And so those people are more shaped like this. Very slender. A lot of the marathon runners out there, a lot of fast-paced runners are hard gainers, are a lot of these type of people. So they're very slender, very thin, very challenging for them to gain a lot of weight if they're trying to build. So that's their body type. So for them, for males, if they were to follow the portion control size with their hands, you would start off with 2 palm-sized portions of protein, and 1 for females. Back again, very similar to what we already have. For carbohydrates, you're going to have 3 for carbs and 1.5 for the females, if you're in that category. And then for the fat, you're going to have 1 portion for fat and 0.5 for the females. So that kind of goes there. If you're looking at percentage-wise, 55 for carbs, 25 for protein, and 20 for fat. There's where everybody's at for macronutrients and tracking carbs, or tracking numbers percentages-wise. So that's your ectomorph. Still following this whole setup, but you're doing this just the same way we do that. The next thing is, the third one is endomorph. And these individuals are shaped more round. And so you can all probably picture somebody who all looks like these little things, right? Either they're going to be round, or they could be more block shaped. I'm not saying they're round like fat, overly fat or anything like that. They could just be more block shaped. They could still be very big and active, have a lot of muscle tone, but these are the kind of their shapes. They're more of a broader, denser individual. So it'd be something like that. So for their protein, for males, females, protein, we'll go over here, protein, carbs, and fat. You're going to have 2 for protein, 1 for females, and then dense carbs would be 1, 0.5, 3, and then 1.5. Oh, and the veggies, sorry. So going back over here, veggies is still going to be 2 and 1. Veggies is still 2 and 1 for the individual over here, the ectomorph. For the veggies for here, it's going to be 2 and 1 as well. Oops. So, everybody kind of know where they're at? How everybody feels? Anyone not sure where they fall in the category? Not sure? So a lot of this can be based off of a test that you can do online. You can get that test, you can Google it, and it'll tell you where you fall into the category. But if you think about it too, like, you know, as a female or male or whoever, like, where do you fall shape-wise? Do you feel like you have a broader shoulders, leaner mass? Are you a hard gainer? Do you feel like, you know, you're really slender and it's hard for you to gain weight? No? So we can cross that one out, right? So you guys are there. You're very slender. Or there could be slender people that are, you know, that are overweight too. It's just the way they carry that weight. Or are you, so you're kind of thinking where you're at here. I'm going to tell you that where I think I know where you're at. I think you're probably in this category here. So, and I don't know you as well as I know her, so I'd have to ask you a few questions, not in front of everybody right now, but if you were to go somewhere along that line. So, and then I could figure that out and dial it in a little bit more for you, if that makes sense. Sure.
The 40, 30, 30, those are grams?
This is percentage. So if you were to have, you know, a 2,000 calorie diet, 40% of those 2,000 calories is going to be carbohydrates. Same thing with this down in here. Yep, MyFitnessPal is a great way to do that, and you can figure that out. So MyFitnessPal, you can pay for it. If you pay for it, you can change the grams, and you can do it by grams, or you can do it, if you're not paying for it, the free version is all in percentages. Oh, and so for this portion here, you're going to have 35 for protein, 25 for carbs, and 40 for fat. These individuals have a tendency you'll need to give them more fat. It's very challenging for them to process carbs, the endomorphs. They gain a lot of weight if you start doing that. So one way to do it too is just playing around between these two and figuring out the numbers. If you don't know for sure, you may even have already done it, whether you know it or not. You know, if I eat a lot of carbohydrates, do I get inflamed? Do I gain a lot of weight quickly? Or if I'm not, you know, am I still maintaining or losing weight if I'm adding carbs to my diet? So playing with those kind of numbers right there, the percentages. Any other questions? No? All right. So we talked about body types, levels, portions. I'll get into level 2 here in a little bit. So level 2, you got to before you even go that direction, you need to make sure that you've set yourself up for those lifestyle skills. Like you're consistent with all those things. You know what good eating behaviors are. You're getting enough sleep, recovery, your environment's set up well. Because if you're trying to go into the next level based off your goals, you're going to be challenged the whole entire time, and you're not going to be able to have success in that level 2. So what level 2 is again, you've mastered pretty much all the level 2 strategies, and you're showing consistency across the board. You may, in level 1, you may have mastered all that stuff, but now you're plateaued. You're not seeing any sort of changes, whether that's gaining mass or you haven't quite reached your goal of body fat percentage or something like that. So we may need to change some stuff and go into level 2 type format. You may need a little bit more individualization. So again, I talked to that was our foundation, that was our level 1. you may need to go into the different body types in more detail, and we may have to play with the numbers, percentages, and figuring out what grams based off your exercise and activity level that you're doing in order to have success with your end state. Your setup, your lifestyle skills, you've been able to emotionally show, like emotionally intelligence, being able to be psychologically stable to go into the next level. And this sounds silly, but I'm not kidding, because if you don't if you're not stable in those sort of aspects, it's going to be challenging for you to have success. You're going to be continuing to go backwards and stepping back into level 1 and bouncing back and forth all the time. That becomes stressful for you, and it throws off everything in your lifestyle, and you may be set back even further in your level 1 setup. So having some strategies, kind of setting that self up ahead of time when you get into the level 2 with either a nutrition coach or somebody like myself or some of the staff here, we can help you out. Most of the people that are in level 2, they just want to be leaner. They may have a goal to hit a certain body fat percentage, but hopefully it's not too low. So with that, a range is usually people that are, for males, it's 12% body fat and below, less than 12%. So that's pretty lean. And for females, it's 22% body fat. So that's your level 2 kind of ranges, anything in that less than. Your performance, you may want to just have more performance increase across the board. You may be getting yourself set up for seasonal competitions, whether it's a summertime, wintertime, whatever you're doing. You may be in sport-specific stuff, if outside of CrossFit, or you may be getting yourself set up to do some sort of like competitions or body competitions and stuff like that. So what your goal is performance-wise. Once you start mastering the level 1 skills, then you can start building off of that. I don't really want to get too far into level 2, just because that's really a conversation that you have with somebody once you've reached all those level 1 skills. So if there's a point in time where you guys have mastered all that stuff and you want to proceed further, I'd be happy to help you out in any way that I can to help you reach your goals. So we'll have those conversations. And then, so getting into level 3, again, this is a little bit, another higher level as far as goals for what they want to do for nutrition and body composition. But this one is really rare that a lot of people are going to be here. This is something where in level 3 and even in level 2, you're not going to spend a whole lot of time in. You may spend so many months during your competition phase, and same thing in your body composition phase in level 3. You're only going to spend a specific amount of time. You may be a mixed martial arts fighter who's getting prepared to do a fight, and you need to cut weight or get into a certain nutrition status. And now you're going to be in there for the couple months or something like that. And then you're going to go back down to level 1, get consistent again, or maintain that consistency, give your body a little bit of a rest. And then you may go back into 2, then 3. It's a progression as you go through it. This is really, level 3 is something that you're really experienced in. You know the skills of 1. You know what 2 is, where you've been able to reach all the numbers as far as like protein, carbs, and fats and your percentages, or if you're doing portion size. Usually you're not doing the portion size with your hands, you're actually measuring out in grams. So you're weighing every single thing out. It's a very tedious task. It's time consuming, and hopefully you're not that type of person at that point to where, like, if you fail at something there, that you're going to beat yourself up and set you back in that category. These are aggressive goals: physique contests, preparing yourself for elite competitions, needing to reach specific numbers in body composition. So a lot of the body composition stuff is 4 to 8% fat in men and 12 to 18% fat in females. And so when you get to that type of leanness, it can mess up your body hormonally. It could be challenging, like sleep-wise, to get to sleep too, but it can throw off a lot of things. One of the things that stands out is female cycles when you get down to that low body fat percentage. Let's see, we talked about that, body fat percentages. Some of the food behaviors too can be a negative impact if you're in this for too long and if you're not doing too great. As some of the thoughts, some of your feelings, you may be kind of like, very OCD about everything, because it does take a lot of counting and measuring and being consistent, but you're overly like obsessive compulsive about it. Like socially even too, like you may not be out hanging out with some friends, and really, having that social aspect with people is really important, but you may be limiting yourself because, hey, the people that I do hang out with, maybe they go and have some drinks and I just don't want to hang out with them because I'm too tempted to do that. So, socially you could be challenged that way, but you got to set yourself up for success. Your training too, overly training sometimes. So just be mindful of that. Depression too, it can throw off your cycles, mentally. If you're continuously trying to get here and you're beating yourself up, you're not getting the numbers you're wanting, you're not reaching that goal right away, you can throw yourself into depression. So it's just got to be aware of those things. So that's level 2 and 3. Don't see a whole lot of people going in that direction, but if you do have goals to set yourself up for those, performance and body compositions and all those different things, let me know. I'll be able to help you out. Cool. All right. Talked about body types. Now I'll get into post-workout. So we did the 4+1, right? So the 4+1, here we are. 4+1. So this is also different. This is also based off of everybody, individual. So after a workout, one of the things you can look at is how you want to, if you're looking at like plate-wise, if you're going to set up your meal on a plate, let me draw a circle. Probably going to look better this way. So you got proteins, half your plate, roughly half the plate is protein. It could be, or at least the portion size is protein. And then you're going to have fruits, vegetables, maybe a little bit of starch here, and then some H2O, some water. That could be what your plate might look like, after post-workout. And if you're we're going to go into the portion size. So for this, the way this is going to look, it's going to be 2 to 4 grams. Here's where you guys got to do math, sorry. This might help that person on the web too, of body weight for protein. So how do I know whether I'm going to have 2 or 4? Well, how long was your activity for? If you're going in that 30-minute range, you may go with 2. You may go a little bit less than that too, depending on how intense that 30, was it really 30 minutes? Or was it, I was here for 30 minutes and I really only did 7 minutes of work? So think about it in activity, how long the duration was. So lower end, higher end, grams of protein based off of kilograms for your body weight. So that's going to be your protein side. So same thing here. How much carbs should I have for my portion? It could be, I would say somewhere in here is probably where your CrossFit lies, an average CrossFit day. If it was a full, if I did Murph, probably right over here, I'd be in the 8 grams for sure. So something like that, hero wads, long duration workouts, somewhere with that. So one thing you can do here too is, having some juice or something like that, Gatorade, something. Sure, there's going to be a bunch of sugar in it, but that's a lot of where the carbs come from. But if you're looking at the sugar too, a lot of that stuff, if it's not refined sugar, it's going to be that natural fruit from the fruits itself. You can use that as your carbohydrates, and then protein like a shake. the protein powder, mix it all up, and you have that. Very simple, super easy to digest too, if you can tolerate that sweetness. Sometimes I like to use coconut water and protein and mix that together. That's super simple. Or applesauce and protein and mix that together. It's pretty good. So, let's see, that's, talked about the duration. That's pretty much it. There's your post-workout meal, if you want to do that. Sometimes I'll do it even before, if I can do it. If I'm really hungry before my workout, I work out a lot of times at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to eat a big breakfast or a breakfast before I work out, so I'm going to do this before, and then I'm going to eat my breakfast right afterwards. That way I can get all that nutrition back into my diet. So there you go. So hopefully this will help you out with your, after you work out, have that. And then when you go into making your meal for the evening, you're not going to be as hungry because this is probably slowing that down quite a bit. So any questions on that? Very simple. Keeping things simple. What time is it? Okay, not much longer. I won't keep you guys. Hopefully I'm not boring you too much. Last but not least, the supplements. So who here takes supplements? Supplements? Okay. I mean, I take them, but anybody else? What kind of supplements do you take?
Fish oil, B12, and multivitamin.
Okay.
And probiotics.
Most people take the same. Anything different than that? Yeah. B12? Vitamin D? Vitamin D is good. Okay. I think supplements, they're good, but you got to remember what it is. It's a supplement. So whatever you're not getting in your diet currently, you're trying to supplement that. You're trying to get that into your diet because you're not getting enough of it currently with what you're doing with your nutrition or in your macros. So one of the things was, yes, fish oil. So fish oil is good. Helps out with inflammation or take inflammation down. So one of the things you can do is 0.5 to 5 grams. So this is roughly your portion size here. So fish oil is definitely good, anti-inflammatory. Sometimes if I have a headache and stuff like that, sometimes I'm like, well, maybe I'm not getting enough fish oil. That may be one of them, but it can also help out with my headache. For me personally, it's worked for me, but I don't know. Everybody's a little bit different. Branched chain amino acids. And this is a daily portion, so as you want to get this daily. This you take before your workout. To help slow down the catabolism of your muscles, so that way you're not losing your mass and all your hard work you've been putting into it. But you can have using something that's not like, if you're buying supplements that have multiple things in it and it has branched chain amino acids in it, look at what that number comes out to in grams. And then also look at what that supplement is too, and all the additional stuff that's in it. You may not need all that stuff. It may just be something just for the hype, with all these different companies that are coming out. So going straight, just like how we want to go straight from the source, a lot of times we want to go straight from the source with our supplements as well. You guys know all the pre-workout? Any of you take pre-workout? Yeah? I'll take it every once in a while. Fraser says it's like he has a third lung when he takes it, so I don't know about that. It's actually a vasodilator, so what it does is it opens up the blood vessels, capillaries, and all that stuff, and it just shoots all that blood in there. it has a nitric oxide effect. So have you guys seen like, is it D4? Anyone know what that thing is? There's like a supplement out there, I think it's D4, and it's got like nitric oxide and effect in it. So it feeds more O2 into your blood, basically, and it opens up those blood vessels. More blood flow gets rid of a lot of the waste. So 5 grams, no more than that. A lot of times too, when you do take this and you've never taken it before, it's a very interesting effect. You may feel this tingling over your head and like all these tingling effects. It's pretty interesting, and you may even feel like scratchy. Each people is a little bit different, but sometimes when you're working out, you won't feel any of that stuff. But if you take it prior to your workout, sometimes you have those side effects and you feel it. It's not like it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's painful in any sort of way. It just feels really weird. So if you ever try it, it's a lot of it's in pre-workout. But just like I said, going straight to the source is really the best way of doing it. Your whey protein. So whey protein, we kind of talked about this. This is 7 to 1. So 0.7 to 1 gram of body weight based off of what your body weight is. One of the things that you can do to really dial this in is figure out what your lean mass is. So you need to know what your body fat your body fat percentage is, and then go off of your lean mass, not just your mass, if that makes sense too. And it also depends too what you're trying to do with are you trying to gain, or are you trying to just maintain or lose weight where you're at, and also your activity level too as well. And then any sort of like greens. If you're not, like I'm talking, like athletic greens, there's all kinds of different things out. First Pharma, anyone remember any other companies? You really want to look into the green source and looking at all the nutrition label and look at all the things that are on there. And if you don't recognize anything, look it up and see what it does, because a lot of it's filler stuff. You're really trying to look at it when you're looking at greens, is that it's like a natural additive or natural micronutrient in the greens itself, like beets, carrots. It could be some fruit, some type of fruit. A lot of the vegetables and what it is, kale, all those different things. It's basically all that stuff just kind of like mashed in there. And there may be some other things outside of it, but if it's not that pure, you see all these additional things listed on it, you may be something you may want to stay away from. Just be as natural as possible. And you only need basically 1 scoop or whatever their recommendation is. A lot of times you can use this, throw it in with your protein, have a shake, may even work with some of this, but a lot of times this stuff isn't high in calories. So it really won't make a difference in some of that, or carbohydrates. So the other protein that's not on here that I didn't add is casein, which is another protein. So if you're trying to gain weight, casein really helps out because you can take that in the evening, and it's a slow digestive protein. So it helps you maintain your muscle mass. If you're taking it at night, it'll digest nice and slowly, and then you can also feel full throughout the evening. If you're the type of person that has one of those late night snacks, one of the healthier things to do. I'm saying if you're trying to gain weight, this is something you wouldn't do all the time. But if you're eating in the evening and you want to have a snack, casein really helps out to fill that void if you're trying to go that way. Another thing too is you can mix them both together, the isolate and the whey protein and the casein together, and you'll feel fuller for longer, but you'll also get the effect of that protein getting straight shot into your body for performance-wise, but you'll also feel fuller because the casein is digesting much slower. So that's pretty much it. That is the foundation of what I was trying to teach. If there's questions on any of this stuff, feel free to email, post it. And also, there's some other stuff I want to talk about too, is like what your goals are. Would anyone be interested in doing, lifestyle, nutrition challenge, anything like that in the near future, maybe within the next year, come in January? Anybody? Show of hands? No? Or just trying to do it? We can see. What we'll do is we'll end up putting a poll out there and just see what the gym across the board wants to do. And if there's interest in it, then we'll implement it. If there's not, then, and you need nutrition help or needs, just come to us and we'll be able to help you guys out. Do you guys still have any questions that I did not answer from the beginning? Go ahead.
What would be like something to keep in mind, like when you're out and about all day, just running around errands, and there's like, what would be a good thing to stop by and eat?
I would say pizza is a really good thing. I'm just kidding. No, pizza is not a good thing. No, don't do that. Don't do that. I would say, okay, well, think about, you're thinking something quick to grab, to go. If you look, what are your goals? Setting up your plan, setting up your schedule ahead of time, knowing what you're doing throughout your day. But let's say you got thrown off for a bit, and now your planned lunch that you had isn't going to work for you. Now you need to come up with something really quickly. Go back to what you're trying to get out of it. So you need to make sure you have your protein, your carbs, and your fat. It could be a very simple snack to where you just go to the grocery store. Nowadays, the grocery store has so much simple stuff that you could buy. It could be, I grab an apple, I grab those single-sized packets of peanut butter, and it depends, maybe something, you'd have to find something for protein. It could be jerky or something like that. That's very quick. Those are very simple, packable snacks to carry with you. There you go, jerky down there. Lowrider jerky. Does that answer your question? I mean, you got to plan, really planning ahead, and also setting yourself up for, for that what if too. You may have snacks in your desk that are healthy too, or depending on where you work, you may have good food options somewhere where you might be. I hope that answers your question. Normally when I travel, I try to have something like that, going to the grocery store and buying something healthy, and I'll think about it. I'll be like, okay, so maybe some of the protein bars will meet my needs that are out there, because they do have carbs, protein, and fat in there, but I really look at the nutrients that are in there and what the grams are for each one. I can't give you a hard and fast, but I can give you like the closest thing to it, and that would be, the fruits, a little bit of fat and protein, or vegetables.